Why has the history of African peoples been erased? Well, we don't live in a fair world. Things aren't fair. You don't get equal opportunities. You get the opportunities that you create for yourself. And if someone gets in there first and they conquer you, they colonize you, they enslave you, they simply make your history disappear to make it look like they conquered, colonized, and enslaved nobodies. When people have a history, that makes you a somebody. So if you remove the history, you become a nobody. And so, your history disappearing, nobody's lamenting the loss of that history. That's why conquerors, colonizers, and enslavers make the people whose history they've conquered, colonized, and enslaved disappear. There are psychological reasons why people would want to associate themselves with a history. There is a link between what someone thinks of themselves, what someone thinks of their people, and their history. Now, scholars talk about personal esteem, that means self-esteem, and then you have interpersonal or group esteem, which is what you think of your group, or what you think of racial esteem. Self-esteem and racial esteem are not someone thinks of their people and their history. Now, scholars talk about personal esteem, that means self-esteem, and then you have interpersonal or group esteem, which is what you think of your group or what you think of your race, racial esteem. Self-esteem and racial esteem are not the same thing. Someone can have very high self-esteem where they think highly of themselves and very low racial esteem where they think very badly of other black people. And in truth, most black people have very high self-esteem and very low racial esteem. And that's one of the reasons why black people are prone to fight each other, prone to disagree with each other, prone to conflict with each other, because someone thinks very highly of themselves and someone thinks very lowly of their group. And what happens is, if people can call each other the N and the B words, they're really saying, I don't give a monkey's about the black race. They've really just said that their racial esteem is very, very low. But every black person usually has very high personal esteem. So if someone thinks highly of themselves and very lowly of their group, that is a recipe for fighting. That is a recipe for conflict. And the way to raise people's racial esteem is to introduce them to their history. And if the history happens to be a great history, a history that people objectively can be proud of, they will see their people in a very different way to how they see their people at present. And that's the difference between high self-esteem, low racial esteem, to having a balance where you have high self-esteem and high racial or ethnic esteem. The purpose of my work generally.
Yeah, and this guy, this scholar or what have you, he said a whole lot, man. Our people got a lot of, they got a high level of self-esteem, and that's because they in covenant with, they in league with Esau, they in league with the American standards. America said you are somebody if you have an education, or you're a greater somebody if you have a master's, and you're even greater than that somebody if you have a PhD, if you own your own business, or if you're successful to the Edomite supremacist viewpoint of what they created in this society, right? So you got people that got high self-esteem, based off their pride, but mainly it's based off their pride and what they done, or what Esau gave them. Like, you got the nigger woman. You ever notice the nigger woman, when she ain't got her hair done, ain't got no weave in, she's more humbler. But then when she get that damn weave in, she keep tossing it as if it's hers, And who gave the nigger woman weave, man? The heathen. You should really feel ashamed to have to even wear weave. But anyway, but our people have a low group esteem, like this guy was pointing out. That's why when we out there prophesying on the highways and byways, you people, these people, mainly our people, don't think it's a big deal when they come up there and just interrupt or just they interject and give their opinion. You know, it's rare. It's very rare with somebody to humbly watch and listen and ask. Well, may I ask a question? You might catch somebody raise their hand, or you might catch somebody. You know, a brother might be holding posts and they might walk up to a brother and be like, "Hey, can I?" You know, that's rare, man, because our people got a low viewpoint of their people as a whole, and just replace African with Israelite, man. Because that's what he's saying, really. It's the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, from the 12 tribes of Jacob. Now, without further ado, let's get let's add the spiritual side of what this guy was saying. We're gonna start with the curses. Because you gotta go, it's with the curses, right? So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. We'll get 54. It says, so that the man that is tender among you, the young men of our nation, and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. That's why you got all this so-called black on black crime, Latino crime, Native American crime, so-called, all the gangs. That's why you see a new guy like our elder brother Demashapa like to say. You don't respect men that look like you, man. You see somebody that look like you in your neighborhood, you never seen him before, you got the evil eye towards him. Who is this nigga? Where he from? What he doing out here? He a op. That's for the past recent years now, that's what they say. He a op, meaning opposition. So our people look at our own people as the opposition, and not even realizing that it's the so-called white man who the opposition, the so-called Arab man in your neighborhood selling you swishers and selling you bologna and bacon, but won't eat it himself, right? It says, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the rhythm of his children, which he shall leave. All right. So, let's get this scripture, because our people ultimately don't understand who they are. That's why it's all about. That's one of the key things. Like I don't know what he is, the scholar or the professor. Like he said, when you elevate, it's all through knowledge. But it's what knowledge? You got to elevate yourself through knowledge. What? Through history. You got to understand who you are. You got to understand who the enemy is too. So let's get the scripture I got here. Let me see. I started. Hold on, Salakia. I'll start at this. This is Ecclesiasticus, known as Sirach, chapter 36. I started at 11. It says, "Gather all the tribes of Jacob together, and inherit thou them as from the beginning." Because the 12 tribes of Jacob, that is the Most High's inheritance, man. Which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. We belong to the Lord. So this scripture says, gather all the tribes of Jacob, not just the black people. All the 12 tribes ain't Negroes. It ain't just black people. Cause I read an old chart a while ago, and it said Noah. It basically said Noah, Abraham, Shem, Ham. It basically said everybody was black. And I think I had replied, I said, if all these people black, where did the white and the Chinese people come from, so-called? All right? But anyway, verse 12, it says, O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel whom thou hast named thy firstborn. See, if our people knew that, they'll have a different outlook on their people. Because we are called by the name of the Lord. The Lord is Yahweh. The Most High's name is Yahweh. And we are who? We are Yasharallah. We are princes with the power. The Most High, Yahweh, he's the almighty power. And if you the Most High of something, that makes you what? The king. All right? And we are princes. We under the king. We princes, man. I'll read it again. It says, O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. Not nobody else, man. People looking at the like the brothers that say, like, if we was a bunch of white men out here preaching and teaching, you was shut up. You don't hear you had KKK rallies or whatever. You don't see no no so-called black people coming up, running up, interrupting. And if you do, it's more than likely agent provocateur of that Black Lives Matter garbage. But for the most part, you don't see that. But you see some guys that look like you prophesying, teaching out the Bible. You think it's just totally okay to come up and interrupt and be rude because you don't respect your people like that, like they were saying. So I'm gonna follow that scripture up with this. So like, wait a minute. This is Exodus 4:22. They gonna let me select it? All right. It says, this the Lord speaking to Moses. It says, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. All right, so this the word firstborn. Firstborn, firstling. Okay, I'm just going to hit to the points. It says firstborn, hence chief. Eldest son, firstborn. So we chief, like mainly, we who the Lord care about. When you read Isaiah, it says what? It said all nations are as a drop of a bucket. He counted the owls as a little thing. Going back to Esdras, all nations are as spittle, man, or the small dust of a balance. Like when you weighing something up and you got them little micro particles, is you breaking your neck to scoop that into the teaspoon or whatever? No, you not. So we, the Israelites, chief. All right, so to make as firstborn. So the Lord made us, the Lord made us chief, right? And this is the point I wanted, to give the birthright. Oh my God. Salakia. It says to give the birthright, right? Because the birthright traditionally goes to who? The eldest son. Because Esau was born first, and Jacob, which is the progenitor of the Israelites, our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, he was born second. So traditionally, he wasn't supposed to be given a birthright, but it was all through the Spirit. The Lord chose who? The Lord chose Jacob. Now let's get that real quick in